Hello everyone, welcome to another video on Asia Engulfed. This one covers the first round of a naval battle, and one of the first things you do in a naval battle is to decide whether or not you want to, well, first you make an interception roll. It's actually these two dice that you see here. I actually rolled it out, and high die roll wins. That is if there's a difference of 4 or more, and there may be some modifiers in play, then the side with the highest die roll achieves surprise, which means that you will get to fire first on the first round without the defender firing back, without the opponent firing back, because it could actually be the attacker who gets the surprise. The attacker is always the side with the initiative. So, well, that's not actually a game term. The phasing player is always considered the attacker. So in this case, since it's the Japanese turn, it's actually the Japanese who are the attacker, who are considered to be the attacker. But the Americans had the higher die roll. So what happens is both sides make a choice as to whether they want to attack in a day action or a night action, as you can see here. Well, the Americans opted for the day action, and well, since I'm playing solo, the rules actually cover that. They say that the attacker has to say so first, and the attacker was the Japanese, and they actually had no choice but to choose a night action, because day actions are only possible if you have carriers in your force, and as you can see, the Japanese only have a battleship, an elite carrier, and a troop transport. So only night option was a night attack, night action was an option for them. The Americans could have chosen either one because they have a carrier and a CV, but knowing that it's early in the game and that the Japanese would probably have a stronger fleet, they just hoped that the Japanese would not have a carrier, and they do have one, and they selected day action, which basically means that you get to attack with your aircraft against the enemy ships, and the only thing they can really do in return is, well, if they had actually had planes and everything, they might have done something different, but since they don't have any carriers, all the Japanese ships could do was fire anti-aircraft. What you do is you total the number of steps, not the troop transport. This is a marine unit, which is considered a fleet, but it does not have any anti-air. You total the steps, which is 7, and divide them by 2 and round it down. So I rolled 3 anti-aircraft dice for the Japanese, but they all missed. So no attacking American air steps were actually hit. Here, the 1, by the way, means that the elite carrier gets a +1 on the interception roll for night combat, and the +1 for day action is something you automatically get if you choose that. But anyway, they kind of cancel each other out, so it would have been a 7 and a 5, but the difference is still 2, no surprise, just simultaneous combat. The 2 American, or actually 4 American attacking air steps then selected a target, and they both selected the troop transport. You need 6s to destroy an enemy fleet point, 5s to damage one, but you do have certain bonuses, and carrier-based air gets a bonus against, well, against several units, but also against troop transports, and they rolled a 4. The other 3 were misses. They rolled a 4, which normally would have been a miss, but because of a +1 they receive for attacking a troop transport, it actually becomes a 5, and at least that's how you can explain it. Or you could just say that a 4 is good enough, and a damage result actually becomes, in the case of a troop transport, always a destroyed result. So you move the, well, you basically reduce the number of steps because it's a destroyed result. And the enemy units, other than the anti-air, don't get to attack back. Here you have some elite land-based air, but you cannot see it here, but I think it says arrives in round 2. Yeah, round 2 arrivals, land-based air never arrives before round 2. You always have 2 automatic rounds of combat in day combat, always only 1 in night combat. Now you can actually continue the fight as long as you want, but then you have to make interception rolls over and over again. But in a day combat, 2 rounds of combat are standard, and that is what happens all the time. The land-based air, by the way, came from Bougainville. This marker is actually used for something else, but I thought it's pretty handy to denote that the land-based air are now at sea, but that's actually where they came from, because later on they have to return to the point they departed from. So this is a result of round 1. The American submarine marker does not come into play until later. I will record a video on round 2, which is mandatory in day combat, afterwards. And one option both players will then also have is to choose avoid. If one of the 2 chooses avoid, then basically there is no, well, no, the 2 rounds are mandatory. Avoid only becomes possible after the 2 mandatory rounds of combat. Thank you for watching.